About 2.5 weeks ago, I took a trip down to Central Ohio to a place called Stone Age Gamer. Now, Stone Age Gamer is a retro game store, but also specializes in a lot of parts for retro consoles in terms of modifications and optical drive emulators, custom shells, aftermarket things. They have all kinds of stuff down there. They really do. It's an interesting store, and if you're in Ohio, you should go check out Stone Age Gamer. But I went down there for one specific reason, and that was to pick up this right here. This is the Terra Onion Mode, or multi-optical disc emulator. And this is for the Dreamcast. They make them for Saturn as well. I think there's a PlayStation 1 floating around out there. But the reason I went down there to get this is because I've been having issues with my Dreamcast that's been very, very modded. Now, this is it over here. Before we get into too much, some history about this Dreamcast, I bought this secondhand off Mercari. I sent out to my friend Crossface Gaming. He did a very complex HDMI out mod to it. And eventually, after I had it back for a while, the disk drive started failing. And instead of running my discs at school or getting them, like the cases all jammed up and smashed up and causing all kinds of problems in my personal collection, I decided to go ahead and put what I call, or what is called, I should say, a GDEMU. This is one of the original optical disc drive emulators for the Dreamcast. And it's not a very difficult install. It's very simple. You put it into where the laser ribbon cable would normally go, and then you put an SD card here, and you boot it up. And if you've done everything right, it should work just fine. And it was working just fine for a while, but then it wasn't. And I wasn't sure if it was the SD card or something going on itself, so I sent it down to another friend, 16-bit Vic, Retro Vic, and he took care of the SD card. He pulled it apart and tried to make it work, and it just wasn't happening. It would work for a little bit, it would boot up, and it seemed like it just fine, but then all of a sudden it would go downhill in a hurry. So this thing has been shipped all over the country, trying to get it fixed and in good shape, mainly to keep, of course, my interest going down here. I love playing the Dreamcast, I love the games for it, and I love being able to keep my games nice and the discs not scratched and the cases in good shape. So that's what it's first and foremost is for me. But second off, for the game club at school, it's very useful to be able to bring all these games in, my entire library, in one optical disc drive emulator instead of having to haul in all those things every week. So it's not like a priority that this thing works. There's plenty of other games out there to play, but it's very useful if this thing works perfectly. So that's where we kind of started off here. We started off with the GDEMU that was inside was just not working no matter what anyone tried to do. Work for a little bit, crash completely out, and that was it. So I ended up going to AliExpress and ordered another GDEMU, which I also put in here. Now this is, again, almost the same exact thing as this board over here. One of the issues that you might know about if you're in the modding or the Dreamcast community or the retro game community is that GDEMUs really haven't been made proper for a while. What you're seeing now are cheap, I guess you could say kind of garbage clones, and that's really all you can get. And the one I got from AliExpress is about the same thing I got from Amazon, and the difference was about $50. This was $70, I think, and this was like $27 shipped. So I put that in, and it works. The SD card works, and the GDEMU works, so that's great. How long it's going to work, I don't know exactly. My friends told me, go and get yourself a mode, and they'll help me with the software part of it. So I did just that. Went to Stone Age Gamer, got a mode for the Dreamcast, and now I'm going to install that into this one right here, this heavily modified Dreamcast. And real quick, just so you can see, this has had a few things done. Obviously, the GDEMU. Modern power supply was put into this one. A battery for the BIOS battery has been replaced, so you can actually pop it out and put it back in real quick instead of being soldered. On the back here, under these vents, you'll see a little small HDMI port. That is the HDMI out. Very expensive mod, but very good mod. Glad I got it. The shell was graciously given to me by Crossface Gaming. He didn't have to do that, but he's a very nice man. And he put this nice shell on there, and it looks great. So that's where we're at right now. I only do mods and things like that I'm pretty sure I can't mess up. I also only do mods that require pretty much no soldering and almost zero understanding or expertise. Although my wife says, after I take these things apart, that she couldn't do it, and I'm thinking, you definitely can. But on a side note, before we begin this fun project, I want to make a disclaimer here. Anything you do at your own risk. I am not an expert. This is not advice. This is not a tutorial. I don't know what I'm doing. I do this at risk to myself and my own equipment. I take no responsibility for any damage or to you or your equipment that you cause. So please proceed with caution. If you don't know what you're doing with messing with electronics and electricity, please go and find someone who does. There's lots of great people out there. They'll be happy to help you, trust me. The repair community on any social media I've seen has been absolutely wonderful. So without further ado, let's get into the game plan for this. So I have a whole bunch of stuff in front of me here, and the goal is going to be twofold here. We're going to take this GDEMU out of this old Dreamcast here. We're going to replace it with the mode, the multi-optical disc emulator. And once we do that, we're going to zip it back up, and it should work just fine. I have an SD card from my friend who prepared the software part of it for me because I really don't have access to that stuff. So That'll pop in there, no problem, we're good to go. Now the first thing you'll have to know if you start doing anything with Dreamcast modification or modern system modification is that chances are you're going to need to replace the power supply. This is from a store called Retro 6 US. Now Retro 6 is the company, the guy has come up with all kinds of amazing mods for retro systems. Retro 6 US is their now current American arm of their company, and I bought it from them because GDEMUs and modes really don't like the original power supply. That's one of the first issues a lot of people have, especially with modifying Dreamcast. Now what's all this stuff over here? This is the bracket that goes in the Dreamcast to mount the mode board to, and then this here is one of the cool things I picked up. It's a sideways stand for the Dreamcast. You put it there, and we'll get into that later. I think I'm going to start by popping the mode box open and seeing what we get inside. So we're going to swap the camera out, and we'll start that process. All right, hopefully this works, but I'm going to open up the mode here. I didn't really pop it open when I should have. We get a warning here. I think we get some standoffs. But we got this here. This is the first time I'm opening this. This is our actual multi-optical, whatever the heck it is, emulator. And, well, it's a lot more complicated than the other one, that's for sure. I'm not exactly positive how it goes in, but I can tell you that we have a bunch of stuff going on here. Geez. Okay, so I have to read the warning because I have no idea. Read carefully. You know what? Let's just go ahead and pull out the old GDEMU here. That'll be a quick and easy thing to do. And we can then move forward on our journey here. I'll pull the whole thing out. I'm going to pull the bracket out too eventually. This is what keeps it off that main board there. 1, 2, 3. There's a longer screw there, and this should just rise right up. Yep. All it does is plug right in. So I'll put you there. I'll put the screws there too. Bracket screws as well. And then let's figure this out. I bought this mounting bracket, and you're going to see me not struggle, or you're going to see me flounder for sure. How does this go in exactly? Like this? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that actually checks out. That was not counterintuitive. That was quite intuitive. The only question is, where are the screws for that? I don't see any. That's one thing I'm concerned about. Boy, I have no idea how this works. I'm going to have to get an expert. There's a lot of connectors going on here. This is way more complicated than the GDEMU was, that's for sure. But if I'm not mistaken, it should just be a plug-and-play kind of thing. And the power doesn't need power, right? No, there's no power there. If we figure this out, let's get this SD card out of here. A lot of these use a full-size SD card. This one looks like it uses a mini micro SD card. I'm not sure what you'd call that. Try to find some screws here. Maybe these screws will hold this bracket down, this installation bracket down. Maybe, yeah, does that make sense? Again, I think it's going to be a complicated thing, but there's no screws. I saw nothing in the... Oh, wait, there are some screws here, but I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do. Dump all that out there. Maybe these will work to hold that bracket in. There has to be screws somewhere from Stone Age Gamer. There has to be a bag. I thought there was a bag of screws when I bought it, so I did find the bag of screws. So I can get this mounting bracket put down. This has been a very quick process, but knowing me, I don't do things easily or quickly. So, okay, those are the finding. Oh, I see what they did. That's pretty cool. It's lined up with the original drive's like mounting points. So should just be able to put that there. There's little like dimples in the board, right? So those dimples in the board help locate whatever it may be, the optical drive, in this case, the bracket there. So there's 2 holes on each side. One lines up at the dimple and holds it in place, and the other one's for the screw head. And same thing over here. There's a little standoff over here. So one lines up the dimple, one for the screw head, and then you just nail it down. That's all there is to it. Should be 4 of these. And then that way you keep it nice and centered as you're installing it. So it's 1, 2, 3. And then, oh, jeez, I really didn't like that. All right, that's 3. I don't see a place for the 4th. And that's okay because that is more than enough to hold it down. So paid good money for that bracket, and it seems to have worked. I'm going to take out the SD card here, this micro SD card, which should be all ready to go. I'm going to stick it in right there. I will say this, the mode and the GDEMU, it's like night and day. This looks like a whole console on this board. I'm going to line this up right here, and you just kind of push it into place, and it's not a complicated install at all. And if everything is lined up properly, it really will just go right into place. We should be seated in that connector right there. Push down. It feels solid, so I'm going to go ahead and they give me a couple screws. I'm probably going to put them at the corners to kind of hold it into place there. Use for the GDEMU, but I don't want it to move, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. All right, that worked. That should be good. These things aren't meant to move, so what I'm going to do now is go fire this up and see if it works. That will be a little more complicated than you think, but I've never played with a mode, so let's go and test it out. All right, so this is the kind of moment of truth here. We have our Dreamcast hooked up with the mode inside of it now. I've left it open like this. Don't do this. Unless you know what you're doing, don't do this. You can shock yourself. It won't feel good. to power it on, and then the real fun will kind of begin to see if, first off, the mode works, and second off, what channel this is actually on, because I have a whole bunch of switches down here. Oh, static. Yes, come on, hope for the best. Oh, man. Okay. Oh, it worked. Oh, thank you, Vic. Oh, thank you, Vic. Thank you so much, Vic. This is oh, wow. This looks great. This is something, man. Wow, it's so clean and clear, too. Oh my gosh, this is gorgeous. This is absolutely gorgeous. Okay. Well, so far, so good. I don't even know what to test out on this. I guess we have to test something out. Psychic Force. There we go. Sure, why not? This looks awesome already. Even the resolution's better. You know, the whole thing, the mode is like a small board in of itself. It feels like a little console there, honestly. Okay, cool. So everything's looking like it should right now. It booted right up, no problems. Now that's good to go, I think. Just real quick, just play it, and then I think we can zip this thing up and call it quits. I have no idea what I'm doing. No idea what I'm doing, just doing a proof of concept here. But either way, you can see that the mode installation was very straightforward, very easy. As long as you have an SD card ready to go, it'll work just like you saw here. No issues whatsoever. Definitely not a challenging thing, and that's why I like it. It is a mod that requires about zero expertise, just the willingness to open up your system, which of course you do at your own risk. Let's kind of play a little bit here, and yeah, no, I think we're good. So we'll stop that. We will turn this off. Well, it's been a while since I installed the mode on the Sega Dreamcast, and let me tell you, I have enjoyed it thoroughly. Not having to bring all those games into Game Club, keeping them hopefully scratch-free, and keeping those cases in good shape has been a great advantage of having this optical disc emulator. And on top of that, it's a lot better quality than the GDEMUs that you can find nowadays. It's a very simple mod that pretty much anyone can do, as long as you have access to a screwdriver and a computer. Now, I'm no expert in SD cards and how we configure them for the mode. Either you'll have to learn it yourself or have a friend do it for you. But either way, the mode was a worthwhile investment for me, and especially for Video Game Club. Not only do we have access to all the great games, but I don't have to worry about damage, scratches, and good old-fashioned games not working. One of the big issues I've had over the years is games will just not read, or the Dreamcast won't read them. All kinds of problems. It gets very frustrating. So far, we've had a couple months of trouble-free gaming, and I'm very thankful for it. I'm glad I went this way. Anyways, I hope this helps you to decide whether or not you want the mode in your Dreamcast, and helps to show you how easy it is to install. Anyways, we'll see you in the next one.